You may have noticed, but over the past few weeks, we've been having a look at the evolution of the e-mountain bike. Well, on today's EMBN show, we're going to be discussing some of the major innovations that have taken place during that time. So what are the greatest innovations? Well, it's widely regarded by many people, actually by one person, that e-mountain biking is the greatest thing to happen to mountain biking since mountain biking began.
The e-biking is the greatest thing to happen to mountain biking since mountain biking.
That's big talk. But probably one of the biggest innovations that e-mountain biking has delivered is actually the industry collectively making that distinction between e-bikes, which are largely commuter-based, and e-mountain bikes, beasts which are really made for the mountains. Now, probably there was an era about 5 or 6 years ago when the e-bike really did become an e-mountain bike, and I'm thinking bikes such as the High Bike or the Cube Stereo or the Specialized Levo, and of course Bosch was central to a lot of this development. But what about the detail? Well, obviously the 2009-2010 Bosch motor is widely regarded as the motor which kick-started a whole industry. But there's loads of bikes which are in the mix as well. Obviously the High Bike from 2010, which we've discussed quite a lot on our history of e-mountain bikes. The High Bike downhill bike 2015. I mean, there are so many things on this list. The Cube Stereo, which I mentioned a minute ago. And look, obviously the third generation motor from Bosch. There's so much. And then things move on from, in 2015, obviously there was the Specialized Levo, which offered so many different things, such as a 90 Newton meter motor, internal battery, which was 500 watt hours. It even had an app. And then we fast forward to like 2018, 2019, the Lapierre e-Zesty, a completely different system to what we were used to. And of course, in 2019, the fourth generation Bosch motor. But I'm wondering what Chris has got to think about it all.
Cheers for that, Steve. Well, I think some of the biggest innovations has to be the apps that we use to connect to our bikes via Bluetooth. I mean, it's pretty crazy that you can log into an app, then change the motor settings on your bike by just simply sliding your finger along a slider. And the information that's within those apps, you know, when you go for a ride, how much battery you've used, what temperature it was, how much input you've put versus the motor, all that information just comes from that app. And I mean, some of the apps you can use, you can dial in how much battery you want left to get you home on those bigger rides, or maybe even tailor the amount of motor assistance to suit a heart rate. And I mean, it doesn't just stop there. You've got Croatian company Grape that's taking it to the next level. I mean, those guys have got live cameras on their bikes, which you can view from anywhere all over the world, or even games that you can play against your mates on the trails. They're talking about being able to play like Mario Kart games on your e-mountain bike. Then I think e-mountain bikes have actually changed the way we ride. I mean, when I used to go out, I used to be about going out for a local 20 mile ride on my cross-country bike. And to be fair, I didn't really enjoy it unless I was super fit. You know, if I was off doing different disciplines and my cross-country fitness wasn't there, then it wasn't enjoyable. I wouldn't lie about that. But then I think it's innovated the sort of people we ride with. I mean, I regularly go out with my dad. He's 68 years old now, and we ride together, same places, same mileage, and at the same speed, and chat on the hills rather than blowing out of our backsides on the climbs. I mean, it is a bike for everyone. Then I think how universal the bike is. It really is one bike for all disciplines now. I mean, I can ride downhill as fast as a downhill bike, and I can climb faster than the XC Pro, and I can jump. You know, there is no need for more than one bike if you've simply got an e-bike. And I think the compromise, there's no compromise in parts. I think I was growing pretty tired of that with a standard mountain bike. You know, I want those big sticky downhill tires when I was going on the rocky descents, but then I didn't want that big sticky tire because I had to ride 5 miles to the trails, and I didn't want to be knackered by the time I got there. And I think mountain biking is all about the latest lightweight parts, whereas e-mountain biking, it doesn't really matter about the weight, it's just about how durable it is. You know, there's none of that compromise when it comes to e-mountain bikes. So I think that's a definite big innovation for me.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Do you know what? I think a cool thing that's happened in the past few years is the Trek Project 1, which means you can get a custom coloured e-mountain bike. And I think this whole individuality and identity, which has been created by the brands against a backdrop of new stuff coming out by the motor manufacturers, is going to be key to the future of many brands. You only have to look at the Forestal Sirion bike in recent months to see, you know, where things are going in terms of the displays on the on the top tube and such things as that. And obviously there's the apps. There's going to be loads more apps, I'm sure, coming on the market. But I think it's time for an ice cream. Chris, are you there in your weight loss dungeon? Weight loss dungeon, Colin?
I'm here in the sweaty sauna, Steve. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty hot in here today. I could do with a fan or maybe some aircon or something.
I tell you what, it's hot, yeah.
How about you?
Hottest day of the year.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you eating? It sounds like you're, what are you eating? You eating your mic?
Well, it's ice cream weather, isn't it?
What?
It's very rude. Let me give it to my daughter. There you go. Ice cream. Chris, innovations. I was going to ask you. We talked about innovations this week. What, if you had to think about one innovation, what would it be? What was the number one e-mountain bike innovation in the last 10 years?
Number one innovation for me has got to be battery tech. I think when we kick things off, I think the norm was about 500 watt hours, but we're seeing some of those monstrous batteries, just like the one I got here actually, 700 watt hours of power. We're seeing 750 watt, we're seeing piggyback systems. That battery tech is something I think is one of the biggest things in e-biking right now. How about you?
Well, do you know what? I think it's reliability, especially in the last 5 years. A lot of the motors, a lot of the batteries have become significantly more reliable than they were, only sort of half a decade ago. But yeah, lots to talk about. In terms of talking about stuff, let's talk about the news this week. Now, I see there's a few new commuter and gravel bikes on the market. The Vado SL motor. Tell me a bit more about that bike.
Well, Specialized have launched a new Vado, so it's the Vado SL, so it's borrowed a load of that tech that we've seen from the Levo SL, so it's got the same motor, the same battery, and you can even put a range extender on there. Now, the Vado you rode up the Welsh mountain, I think it's about 8 kilos lighter than that bike, so this is a perfect tool for commuting. It actually weighs in at 14.9 kilos. It's got kind of like a suspension system in the head tube just to take a bit of that buzz out of all the road as well. They're saying it's 40% lighter than your average e-bike.
Wow, so, did you just say it's 8 kilos lighter than the Vado which I rode?
Yeah, exactly.
That's insane because, the Vado which I rode from the city centre to the summit of a Welsh mountain, that was such a capable bike, a bit of a do-it-all, rode around the city, rode 5 roads, even rode up the grass to the summit of a hill. And the thing is, I think the key thing with 14 kilos is that it's going to be really transportable for people who are putting it on a train, who are putting it on the back of a car. So I think that's a really good step in the right direction, I think.
Definitely. And I think we've got all those people obviously using the bicycle as transport now, so we're seeing a lot of people going across to that. So I think with this bike, Specialized have hit it bang on the head with it. And price-wise as well, it's pretty attractive, 2,499 for that base model as well. So pretty good stuff coming from Spesh.
That is some bike. Now, Cannondale Topstone Neo Carbon. This is a gravel e-mountain bike, or sorry, a carbon gravel bike, should I say? It's got suspension on it, though, right?
Yeah. So it's got the new Kingpin system on their full suspension. Well, it's kind of like a mini full suspension bike. So it's using as I understand it, a flex in the seat tube with a pivot on the chainstays as well. So you're getting a tiny bit of travel out the back, but up front it's got a lefty on there, 30mm travel lefty on there, 650B wheels that you can change the tyre size, so obviously if you are tackling that bit more gnarly terrain you can put a bigger tyre on there, but it looks absolutely loaded. SRAM Force components which is all going to connect to your apps. It's got the Bosch Performance Line TX motor on there, so a big powerful unit, and a 500 watt hour battery with a kiosk display, so it's got that full-on e-mountain bike motor and battery but housed in a super lightweight package, and I mean that sounds pretty fun.
Do you know what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking? I can see a definite head-to-head on one of these bikes, but what are you thinking?
Do you know what I'm thinking? I think the pair of us need to get our Lycra on.
I don't own any Lycra, Steve.
Let's order some Lycra in. Let's get ourselves down the beach on our gravel and city bikes.
That does sound fun. But have you seen the Instagram stuff as well?
Oh, moving on. We're moving. Obviously,
I'm done with talking about Lycra and gravel bikes, Steve.
Greg Minar, his heckler, having a good time, smashing turns.
Yeah, and talking of good times, do you see Tony Bow on his Montesa doing that crazy tree tap? I know it's not e-mountain bikes, but you've got to be pretty amazed at this. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Do you know what? I could talk Tony Bow and trials every day of the week. One of the greatest two-wheel riders in the world.
Definitely. It all crosses over.
I also see that your mate Tom Cardy in Switzerland. What's all that about?
Switzerland squeaking, so he's going backwards, walking on the front tyre. You know, I see Ollie Wilkins and those guys trying to learn this trick. It's actually one that I've struggled with myself, so I'm definitely going to get out there and have a go at those. That's, you know, like Jez Avery used to do, with scuffing like on the tyre and going backwards. You seen that, Steve?
Well, let me just tell EMBN viewers that Jez Avery was an old school trials rider from the early 1990s in the UK, came from up north. Yeah. And anyway, we're getting off subject. Anyway, that is the news this week. Coming up on EMBN this week, on Friday, we've got a video from Chris on how to pick lines. Chris, how do you pick lines? Complex business.
Well, it's all about, well, it depends how you're riding. If you're riding downhill or cross country, it's all about looking ahead, keeping your eyes up and trying to pick the smoothest line, sometimes linking two obstacles together, making it nice and smooth. Flow, it's all coming up in that video. The
line of least resistance. Now, on Sunday, Chris has made a video how to get the best out of the mountain biking around your local area without travelling in the car, which means a lot of research, going to your local bike shop and maybe chatting to some local mountain bike clubs or groups. It's all in there on Chris's video on Sunday. And then on Monday is a video about building a YT decoy out of the box from scratch. Check it out. Very, very easy. Now, in the comments this week, fantastic comment on the history of e-mountain bikes, part 1, which is on the channel, from Chris Till, who says, and this is related to the best innovations, it's the dreamers who build things and move us forward. I think that's a fantastic comment, because he goes on to say that no one would have asked for an e-mountain bike before it became available.
True.
But moving on now to another feature which we had, which is e-bike trends that suck on last week's show. Andreas Newmar says that I was called a cheat as I use an electric bike to cycle 40-mile round trip to work. The fact that the accuser drives a car for the 4 miles round trip to work and it's over made me laugh out loud.
Can you imagine?
Well, I guess there's quite a lot of that going on.
Yeah, we've got Bob Harvey. He's saying that an e-mountain bike ticks more boxes more of the time for more people. It's slowly happening, so we're seeing an e-bike take over. It definitely is. Yeah, and Whiteley, I give 3 of my mates a go of my Vita C Summit. All 3 have sold their regular bike and ordered an e-bike. Fantastic, isn't it? Standard. Yeah. Cheers. Right, it's time for Out and About. This is my favourite section of the show, and we've got a special shout out this week, and you're going to like this one, Steve. This is the Wild Flogs. They're a drinking club with an e-mountain bike problem from Western Australia. They've submitted a couple of videos here. One is this night riding video with the kangaroos jumping all over the trails, which apparently has knocked them off on their night rides before, which is pretty wild. And then they've submitted another one. It's probably the worst selection of injuries I've ever seen on e-mountain bikes in a minute. And I think if you're a little bit squirmish, you might want to look away for a while. I think when it comes to the worst selection of injuries, surely you've got to be close to that list, don't you? Continue with the Out and About. This is Honey, I Shrunk the E-Bike. Nice. A Trek Rail 7 in Blatten Pass, Switzerland. It's so I ride past this bench at least twice a week and just wanted to share it with you guys. That's pretty cool, isn't it? An interesting shot there, Chris. How small that bike looks. But this looks like a massive, rocky, gnarly trail here. This is Nicholas on his Focus Jam Square Pro. He's out in Switzerland in Martinsloch. Hey guys, great show. Watch it every night. He actually met Steve in Riva de Garda last show. So hope to see you this year again. Yes, hopefully you should. Well, I'd love to get back to Garda. Definitely. Yes, stay healthy to you and back to Rapperswil. Now, meanwhile, high up in the hills of Alaska is Timothy, and he's got his 2019 Turbo Canevo Expert. Nice. And the location is Chugs, which has the foothills of Alaska. Quarantine range test on the new rig with Pilot the dog. Can beat a bit of trail dog, can you? Nice. Whoa. Beautiful snow action. Bit of snow action going on here in this one as well. Look. Yeah. So this is Gerhard on his High Bike X-Duro downhill version. He's out in the Austrian mountains named Karawanken. I think Carinthia. That looks like an amazing, you know, he's been out on an amazing photo shoot with his daughter there. So a pro photographer getting the bangers. Nice.
Yeah, the bangers in Karawanken. Now, lastly, this video is from Henrik, Specialized Knivo, or Ken Ovi. Location Arendal in Norway. This is my commuting when I'm in the office, in the home office. The forest is a wonder these days. Looks like an amazing commute there in Arendal. What about that?
Yeah, I love seeing the videos as well as the photo submissions for Out and About. It's good to see these videos. Great to see you guys out there exploring on your e-bikes. Keep them coming in. Use the upload service, and it might be you on next week's Out and About.
Or maybe we'll be heading to Australia.
Hopefully.
It is time for the Bike Vault. What have we got in store this week? We're starting off actually with a bit of North Shore trail action. Nice. This is a Specialized Turbo Lever Comp Carbon owned by Stefan in North Van, British Columbia. First solo ride. Super nice. Super nice. Super nice. Super nice.
Right, we've got a little bit of city shredding going on here from John. He's out on his Vitus E-Summit VRS. He's up in the Everton Hills in Liverpool watching the sunset. Nice shot that, like that.
The Everton Hills.
I've not been there before.
Everton Hills in Liverpool. Now, meanwhile, closer to home here, another Specialized Knivo from Peter, up on his own mountain in South Wales. Chris, I'm not going to give that nice. There's got to be a super nice.
It looks like a huge drop off that stone ledge, doesn't it? It looks like one for you, Steve.
Yeah, I'm not into drop offs myself. Ooh, yeah.
Nice. It looks like Chris has been out on a bit of a spin around Edinburgh. Bit of yellow gorse going on in the background there. He's on his 2020 Santa Cruz Heckler up in the Pentlands of Edinburgh. Out for an epic 45k ride around the Pentland Hills, around Arthur's Seat. I've ridden up there, so that's got to be super nice.
Indeed, if you guys want to see some Edinburgh action, Chris went on a road trip up there last year, and we'll leave a link to that in the underneath this video. Now, moving on,
you got to get to the bings.
The bings, yeah. Moving on from the coconut smell of gorse to some single track shredding here with Greg and his Cube Stereo 160 Action Team 2019 model. Now this is Stanmer Park Trails on the South Downs, and just getting used to an e-bike after 30 years on normal mountain bikes, and I am converted. Whoa. Yeah, nice one, Greg. That's nice.
Cool, got an epic shot here coming in. Check out those mountains in the background. This is Roger on his Focus Jam Squared up in...
Here we go.
Marlinas and Verbier in Switzerland. Flowerfield Meadows above Verbier, the late snow on the mountains of the Grand Combine in the background.
Comba.
Super nice shot. Anyway, look at that.
It's funny, actually, on the channel earlier this week, we had an interview with Marco Fontana, who was an Olympic medalist in 2012, and we've actually got shots of us going on some single track below the Grand Combine. Is the Grand Combine in Switzerland, Italy, or France? Is it in France?
What event was that?
France.
What event was that?
Say that again, Chris.
What event was that?
That was the Tour of Mont Blanc. I don't know, where were you? Or you were in bed. Anyway, and moving on to North Yorkshire Mows now. This is Andrew and his white E150S. The description of this is old giffer getting back into mountain biking. Your network probably pushed me over the edge to go down the e-mountain bike route. So glad I did. Getting fit again and loving it. Andrew, fair dues. Super nice.
Super nice. Well, this looks like another super nice shot. Red dusty trails and a red dusty bike. It doesn't get any better than that. This is Ron with his 2019 Turbo Levo Comp Carbon. He's out in Spanish Fork in Utah, riding the Red Knoll downhill track. Just purchased his first e-bike, was having a blast doing multiple runs and getting used to the new bike. That is a super nice shot. I mean, look at that track as well. Jumps there. Wow, nice. Well,
moving from the Spanish Fork to the cutlery capital of the world, which is Sheffield, and this is in Grenoside Woods. Danny on Steve Pete territory here, giving a new bike a real test down the black and red trails. As I said, Cube Stereo 160 SL. That is nice.
Nice. Wow, this is pretty cool. Custom wrap going on here on a Giant Rain E+2. This is out in Gisborne in New Zealand. Maiden session on my new Giant Rain E+ with custom Tomoko wrap on there. So that's a traditional Maori tattoo.
Maori, even?
That. Maori, that's the one. Maori. That's super nice. I'm loving that. A bit of customization going on. That looks cool, doesn't it? I like that. Super
let's
nice
get to New Zealand one week. But Chris, the bike of the week. Come on, name it.
Steve, it's going to be on your shoulders. You always give this to me. Come on. There's loads of good entries.
I think
this week.
Roger with his focus on Switzerland is a great location, great shot, epic background. For me, that's bike of the week, Chris.
Nice one. Keep them coming in. Love seeing all your bikes in the Bike Vault. Use the upload service. Get involved, and it might be you on next week's show.
Absolutely, and next week's show is all but 7 days away. And in the meantime, don't forget to comment and get involved in the discussion about the greatest innovations on e-mountain biking. Remember, e-mountain biking has only been around 10 years. There can't be that many, or have there been? It's been a really packed 10 years, that's for sure. Like I said, let us know in the comments down below. In the meantime, follow us on social media. Chris, I'll see you in the weight loss dungeon next week.
I'm going to go grab myself an ice cream, Steve, just like you, and maybe a cold cider. I bet you got those coming later on as well.
I've got some clear stuff
Catch you next week.
there. That's not what you think. See you guys next week.